Hello and welcome to Penelope's Pocket Flosstube episode number 12. Today is Saturday the 18th of October, I have to think about that for a second, 2025, and my name is Sarah. This is going to be a Japanese themed episode and you're going to think that's a bit random, Sarah, how did that come about? So this came about a few months ago when I bought some really beautiful Japanese fabrics to make bags with. And it was probably about the time that I did the Scottish themed episode. I can't remember what episode number that was now, but a little way back, which people seem to really enjoy, followed by the strawberry one, which also people seem to really enjoy. So the idea was there to do a Japanese themed one, and what immediately sprang to mind, which is very sewing, stitching related, is the Japanese needle ceremony, which you may well know about, but if you don't, I will tell you what I know about it and what I've found out about it in order to talk about it in this episode. So the proper word for this ceremony is Hari Koyo. Now I can't speak Japanese, so I've written it down so you can see. I think Hari Koyo, Hari meaning needle and Koyo meaning memorial service. Is that what it means? Yes, just checking. So this is a Buddhist tradition ceremony that goes back over 400 years, I think. And is celebrated or happens on two separate dates. So I've waited a bit to do this episode, so we're closer to one of the dates, and also to give myself an opportunity to curate a little collection of Japanese inspired fabric bags for the update. And those two dates are the 8th of February and the 8th of December. 8th of December, probably I'll be more in Christmas mode and talking about Christmas a bit more, so I thought this was a good opportunity to do it. Anyway, I'm checking my notes so that I make sure that I say all the right things. The belief is, and still the belief is, that souls dwell inside all things, not just people, but objects and animals and everything, and that includes needles. And so the ceremony is about showing respect to and gratitude for those really important tools. And if you think this goes back 400 years, they were really important tools because your livelihood could well have relied on those tools, and they don't last forever. They do sometimes get bent, broken, buckled, and so you would keep those, and during this ceremony you would go to the or there would be a shrine in the Buddhist temple, and there would be a soft block of tofu that you would gently put your needle into to show your respect. One thing that I read that was very interesting was that if you had if you'd been not mistreated your needle, but if you'd been, I don't know, frustrated or in a bad mood when you were doing your sewing, there was a feeling that that frustration and that not good vibe would be transmitted to the needle, to the implement that you're using, and that this ceremony was a way of cleansing them, I suppose, as well, to show your respect to, because if you didn't do that, and I don't think this translates very well, but what I read was on the 100th birthday of that object, and I bet that's not a very good English translation. I bet there's a Japanese word that means something different. This object would turn into a monster, and these monsters would collaborate together to take vengeance on the wasteful people who hadn't shown respect for their needles or pins or implements. I think it refers to well, anything that you could use, tools and brushes and anything of importance, really. So that was another reason for performing the ceremony. On the days when the ceremony happened, it was a time of reflection of your previous work, to be thankful, not to do any stitching on that day, but to pray that moving forward your stitching journey would your skills would improve and you would get better and better at what you did. So the 8th of February and the 8th of December were days when you didn't stitch. I believe that I'm correct in saying that, and I think that's connected to a much more ancient time of seasons changing, harvest, something like that. I'm by no means an authority. This is just knowledge that's either in my head or that I've read about recently and trying to find out for this episode. What else do I need to say? Oh, I did wonder what happened to the needles afterwards, because I've known about this for a while. I've been collecting my broken needles. I actually keep them not in a block of tofu, and I don't have a shrine, but I keep them in an old candle holder. And yeah, I mean, I've got bent needles, not many bent needles, old sewing machine needles, and a couple of really, truly horrifically treated pins that have see against my jumper, maybe some of them are almost at right angles where I've caught them in the machine. I mean, that was not too bad, but not usable anymore, so they go in here. So one thing that I have learned is that after the ceremony they will be carefully lifted out of the tofu, wrapped in paper, and then put in a river or stream to float away to the sea. That seemed to be the thing that they would do most often, or they could be buried. So that's how they disposed of them in the end. Mine probably go in the recycling. Is that everything I wanted to say about that? Yeah, I mean, when we stitch, you really only need your tools, a needle and scissors. Is that fair to say? I mean, I stitch in hand. Some people obviously might add a hoop or a frame to that. Obviously you need your materials, you need your fabric and your thread, but your tools, you don't need very much, do you, to be able to stitch and make things? You don't need to have a sewing machine. You can stitch everything by hand. That needle is the thing, isn't it? It's really important. I can see how, if your livelihood depended on your stitching, or your warmth because you needed to make yourself clothes, yeah, a very important tool. And I can totally understand the reverence around treating your tools well, showing respect when you've finished using them, and disposing of them in a thoughtful way, I guess. So that's my thought process to this Japanese themed episode. And as we go through, I've got quite extensive notes today. There are some other Japanese bits and pieces that will crop up, and sewing and knitting. What am I drinking? Let's get back onto normal programme. I have an Earl Grey tea in a mug from the Leech Pottery in St Ives in Cornwall. It's a beautiful one. It's not actually mine, this is Steve's. I did buy it for him when we were down there one year, but it is actually his mug rather than mine. This is the Leech Pottery stamp here. I'd like to show you the base because it's the way that they're made, but I can't show you the base without tipping tea all over myself, so I shan't. So I picked out this mug today because if you don't know about Bernard Leech, he was considered to be the father of studio pottery, or the grandfather of studio pottery, and he was born in Hong Kong and lived the first few years of his life in Japan and then moved back to the UK. He went to the Slade School of Art, where he became particularly interested, I think, or studied etching, engraving. And he ended up going to Japan. I think possibly he was married by this stage, so with his wife, to teach etching in Japan in around about, well, after the First World War, I guess. And he was there, I don't know how many years he was there for, a few years. And in that time, he became super interested in pottery and started studying pottery in Japan under some of the Japanese master potters, none of whom I can name, I'm afraid. And he ended up coming back to the UK in 1919, 1920. Certainly by 1920, he'd been asked by the St Ives Guild of Handicraft to be the potter, to be the potter, the pottery of that movement, because St Ives in Cornwall is well known for artists, paintings. Barbara Hepworth's sculpture studio is there. That's slightly later than we're talking about now. So a mecca for artists. And in fact, the Tate have one of their satellite galleries in St Ives. Whenever we're in Cornwall, I always drag Steve to St Ives, and always to the pottery, and quite often go to the Barbara Hepworth sculpture garden as well, because it's all just so lovely. So he founded this pottery with a Japanese potter, and I do have to check my notes for his name. He was Shoji Hamada, and they founded this pottery there. I think his grandson still run it. He Leech himself became he had lots of apprentices from all over the world learning studio pottery techniques with him. I know a lot about him because of my time studying antiques, because even back in the 80s his pieces were fetching thousands at auction. Goodness knows what they fetch now. But he also made utilitarian pieces like mugs, plates, bowls, cups. Anyway, that's a bit about Leech. I've got some more artist-based pieces that I've picked up when we've been down there as well. Small pieces. I do love pottery. So that's what I'm drinking, and that's Japanese influence on British ceramics. Right, what am I drinking? What have I got next? Oh, we're going to do what's in the bag. Only it's what's in the bags, because I actually have 3 Gertrude bags down here full of goodies to share with you. Let's start with this one, which is heavy. So this is my current Gertrude bag. It's the one that I was using last time. It's the Alice in Wonderland on the very dark navy background. I will forget to say this, I'm going to say it now. I've made some more in the periwinkle blue, and they will be part of this update, and they'll be available on the website again. This is going out on Sunday, so 4 o'clock today when this goes out, these will be available too. Look at these, I love the tassels hanging over the edge. Okay, so let's go through the bag piece by piece in no particular order. But let's start off with something Japanese. So I know that Jacob from Modern Folk Embroidery has a couple of Japanese patterns. If I was super organised, I could have printed off pictures of them to show them, but I haven't, I'm afraid. I'm not stitching anything Japanese, but my daughter is. So this is Isabel's bag. Oh, come on, light. This is a bag from my first ever update on Penelope's Pocket. So one of the first ones I ever made. I called it Oh Mr. Darcy because this is a Jane Austen fabric. Oh, this light is, oh, that's better, isn't it? So we've got Pemberley and no doubt all the other houses there. My mind's gone completely blank. And then inside it was lined with dancing couples. Now there'll be a few of you out there that have this bag, because this, I made quite a lot of these. But if you've got one of these, that's from my very first range of bags. Anyway, this is Isabel's. Isabel is can stitch, but she is just not a stitcher. So this whip is probably, well, it predates the bag, so it predates 2020, that's for sure. Where's my board? But she is Japanese. So that's where Isabel is with it. And despite me saying to her fairly frequently, Isabel, why don't you get your cross stitch out? Nothing happens. I did ask her if I could show it today and she said yes. It is, I've looked in the bag, we don't seem to have a cover for it anymore, but it is a Dimensions Gold collection, kit number 6953, Elegant Geisha. And she has, well, Isabel said it was wisteria. I think it probably is wisteria actually. She has most of the stitching of the lady done. There's quite a lot of back stitching in these. She hasn't done any back stitching on it. And there's a background of a wisteria arch going up, round and over here. So I thought that was something that, well, I asked her if I could show it because it's Japanese. I don't like to offer to finish it for her because I think she should do it herself. Right, as I said, no particular order. I might not even remember what's in some of these. So this is my Sajou bag. I do know what's in here, don't I? Oh, yeah. I haven't done any of it. It is the Brenda Gervais that I've been lent, a daily reminder. I showed it last time. I'm not going to show it now because I actually haven't had a chance to pick it up. It's been 3 weeks since my last episode. I've been super busy and I have done a lot, but I haven't managed to touch everything. This, what have we got here? Oh yes, now this I have done. This is the old Scott from Hands Across the Sea Samplers, and I showed it last time and I said that I'd been inspired by my new stitchy friend because we'd had a stitchy chat. We've had another one since then as well, which has been really nice. And she's working on it, and I was hoping to get the border finished. I showed it the wrong way round last time. Where's my board? I think I showed it sideways on, but it's this way. Actually, it's too big for the board, Sarah. Just hold it up. So here we are. So I haven't finished the border, but I am close to finishing the border, and it has gorgeous colours. I can't see what you, oh, I am sorry about the light. It has really, really bright colours. My friend has changed the colours for more subdued ones. These are the called for Embroidery silks. I'm stitching it on 40 count weathered from number 12 Stitch Co. Is the camera going to adjust so that we can get a better picture? So I have been really slowed down by the four-sided stitch inner border. That's this pink border here, which I've been a good girl and I've followed the method of how to stitch it in the booklet, but it's stitched from left to right, and I always stitch right to left, so it's cack-handed for me. I'm stabbing it in and out rather than sewing, which is what I normally sew. Whereas with this four-sided stitch, because it's going this way, I'm having to go in and out with the needle, so it's taking me ages. Does it look different to the crosses? I certainly hope so for the amount of time it's taking me. But there we go. You can see I've still not finished. I've still got some more colours to put in, but it's close. It's close to being finished. So yeah, I might between this time and next time I will finish the border, and who knows, I might get some of the middle bit done as well, because I've been enjoying that, loving the bright colours. These are the colours. You're not going to be able to see them very well, they're in these Floss Away bags, but look, the red is so, they are bright colours. They're mostly the called for, but they're not all the called for. Some of them I had in my stash and they were just one number out. So I just sort of thought, well, I'll use that one rather than buy a new one. One of them I had, but not enough of. So I pulled out another one which was close-ish. So I'll play around with the colours a bit. I think it's only 10 or 11 colours in it, so there's not that many colours in it. Next, well, my strawberry bag is in here, and there is a reason for that, which you'll see when we get further on to finishes. And the reason is that's the other half of a piece of fabric that I've already used, and I have plans for that, which I'll talk about when I show you what I made, which you can probably guess because it's the strawberry bag. Next, right, I did a good week on this. Love my parrot leopard line. I do wonder if, I probably said this before, if I didn't do this, I might not actually put this down. I might just keep going with it. Excuse me. A bit of this. Right, here we go. I've got the needle in the top. There we are. So it looks like I've done masses, doesn't it, since I last saw you? Just a week. But what I've done is I have now filled in all of the outline. So I can't, where was I before? I can't really remember. I didn't have any of this outline. I think I had the bird in, but I didn't have any of this and none of this up here. I had this bit in. So I filled in all the outline. It all matches and meets, and around where the bird is and this area here where I'd stopped working because, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it back to front, it's like looking in a mirror. This area here where I thought there was a problem, that's all worked out fine now. So all I need to do is the infill. Now I have done something, and you might think I'm completely mad. Well, I am completely mad. I have decided to stitch the background. and I've started it here. You can see around the line here, up here, across here. If you're watching on a big screen, you can probably see much better than me looking on my camera here, and round here. Now, I did mention that I was sort of thinking about it before. The reason I've done it is that this piece, I think it is a reproduction of more of a needlepoint tapestry type, tent stitch type thing. It just looked naked to me. Where it was just cream fabric, it just didn't look, I think it, although it's the same colour as the background, that texture, I just think it needs it. And so I started, and I really don't mind infill at all. I did change the colour though. The colour that came with the kit was a crew, and it looked exactly the same colour as the fabric, but it was bright, fresh and modern looking in my eye. I know the colours are bright, so I changed it, and I've got loads of them in here, for DMC 3033, which has well, actually the way to describe it is it just looks like a crew that's been dipped in weak coffee or weak tea. It's just taken that edge off of it. It is difficult to see because it is also sort of the same colour as the background fabric, but it was just that tone darker and not quite so bright. And so yes, so I have turned this into a full coverage piece. So there's a lot of stitching to do on here. Next time I'm going to pick a bit to work on. Probably, I'm feeling like I'll probably fill in these leaves over here. Because I stitch in hand, I hold my fabric like this. Sometimes I roll it, or I roll it up. So I have a tendency, because also it's the way I stitch, to work across this way so that you're not holding the bits that you've already stitched. That's just the way I do it. So I'll probably start filling in these motifs here, and just keep going every now and again, putting in a few strands of the background. But that's my parrot leopard lion. Really pleased to have it filled in, and absolutely loving it. I noticed that Sue at Peakside Needleworks has it in stock. So if it is, if you have been looking for it and you're in the UK, it's there. I hadn't seen it there before, but I noticed it last time I looked. Although I'm not really looking at charts, I've got plenty of charts. So there. Now, what's next? This is my autumnal stitching bag. And in here is, it's called It's Good to Be Home by Samplers and Stitches, which is Carol X Stitch, I think she is on Instagram. Samplers and Stitches is on Etsy. And Carol very, very generously gave me this chart. It's a drum. I've shown it before. Here is where I am. So last time I showed it, I was working on the house because I was waiting for a DMC colour. I actually got lost in the post, which was unusual. I've really had stuff lost in the post before. Anyway, eventually it came, and I was waiting for it because it was the fence here. So since you last saw it, I've got the fence in, I've got the cockerel on the top of the fence. I assume that's what he is. I've got another leaf in, maybe another 2 leaves, no, probably another 2 leaves in, because I think I needed the gate, the fence, the gate, to get that leaf in. And I've got the wording in. Up here is a pair of squirrels looking at each other, and that's all of that side then done. And I've been working on the house. Now I've made a major mistake on the house. and I didn't need to do much unpicking to put it right, but I decided that it didn't matter. Carol can probably spot it straight away because it's her chart, but I don't think anybody else will, so I'm just going with it. That's a big house. There's a lot of stitching in that house. But yeah, will I finish it and get it fully finished for this autumn? Don't know. I'm enjoying it though. This is 36 count Atelier, also from number 12 Stitch Co. Really lovely fabric, lovely mottling on it, which is showing really well even though the light's not good here. It's going to be big. It's going to be a big drum, but it's going to be beautiful. It's not an autumn chart as such, it's just the colours I think are very autumnal. I don't think I showed them last time because they weren't actually in the bag, but these are the colours. Actually, one or two I might have put in myself because I think that the squirrels are in that colour harvest basket, but I am doing them in, I think that one's sarsaparilla. They're red squirrels. There we go. So that's had quite a lot of work since last time. Oh yes, now this is in here because this is going to be my New Year's Day start, and it's I showed it last time. It's Fox and Rabbit Margaret Liggett-wood, and I showed it because I've never used 100 threes before, and there's Soie Gobelin in here as well, and I'd attempted to make something to keep them in, and if you watched me, it was quite comical really, because they were all falling out all over the floor and it was a disaster. And two people commented, Ros, you commented, and another lady commented, and I should have written your name down but I didn't, but you were both absolutely right. How I didn't see it, I don't know. They both said, why don't you do machined, vertical machined bits, stitching, so that you can get them in, which is exactly what I did, and of course now it's perfect. So you were both absolutely spot on. I don't know why I didn't think of that myself, but you know, there you go. It was a brilliant idea. I made this using a little scrap from the Isabel bags from the Cantha quilts. I don't expect to see these going into production anytime soon. I think this is purely for my use. But I will make another one because I've got another three threads. So I'll use another scrap and make another little bag. But you know, that works perfectly. They fit in there really nicely. So you can't see what I'm doing, but yeah, pleased with those. This is a conversion that I've picked up from Katie Strachan's Flosstube. Her mum is working on this, and Katie very kindly gave the numbers of the threads that her mum is using. Now, some of them are Gobelin and some of them are 100 threes, and they're quite different in thicknesses. They're also very close together in colour, some of them, but I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to go with it. Hopefully I'll be able to work out which ones replace which ones. They're all over dyed. I think they're called for ones in the chart. Actually, if you don't watch me all the time, I'll show you the chart. I've had this chart for a long time. When it first came out, I love it. I think it looks beautiful. The spacing of it, the airiness of it, the negative space they call it, don't they? The colours, which obviously I'm using different ones, that doesn't make sense. The motto in particular, and the fact that it's a 1765 one, so it's really old and it's Scottish. There is in man a lust no charm contain, of loudly publishing his neighbour's shame. On eagle's wings immortal scandals fly, while virtuous actions do but live and die. So true. Here we go. That is going to be my New Year's Day start. It's in my extremely popular lavender honey bag, and I've got some more of this fabric, not in this colourway but in another colourway, which on dark background, which is stunning, and the same lavender lining. So expect to see a couple more of those in the future at some time. Also in the bag, I'm going to have another sip of tea. I hope you're settled in with your stitching or your knitting and your tea. It took me ages to prepare for this Flosstube this morning. It's actually now nearly lunchtime, so Una and I had to have a biscuit before I filmed, otherwise I thought I'm going to be hungry, especially if I talk for a long time, which I am known to do. So she had a bonio and I had some chocolate hobnobs. Hopefully you're enjoying a biscuit. I know you need to have a biscuit with a cup of tea, don't you? Or cake. Well, I do. Anyway, this is in there. This is a Blackbird Designs fabric from quite a while ago. And this is my Modern Folk Embroidery quintessential Frisian smalls cow. And that's in there. I haven't started the next one, which is the Biscornu, but I will do. But it's in there because that's a current project. Oh, I normally take this out first, don't I? My needlework book of days is in there, and I have stickered up October. Can you see? Lots of blue going on there. Indigo. So a lot of the bags that I'm going to show you that I've made are indigo blue, and I did think to myself, why so much indigo blue? But I have found out it is because years ago Japanese people were restricted with the colours that they could wear, and indigo was a dye that they could grow and use very easily and were allowed to wear. So that's why there is a lot of indigo. Am I right in saying Japanese invented denim? I'm sure Americans invented jeans, but I think Japanese invented denim, and that would make sense, wouldn't it, because of all that indigo dye? Anyway, that's why there's so much indigo dye. They could grow it and they were allowed to use it as a colour. There she is, empty. Which bag next? Well, let's show you this one. This is this was my prototype Gertrude bag. This is a Rifle Paper Company Monstera leaf? Monster? Yeah, whatever that plant is anyway, leaf one. And I'm using this as a project bag because I'm going to do some tapestry. I haven't done any tapestry for ages. Something that I used to do a lot of, and there will be a tapestry episode, I'm sure, at some stage to show you things that I've done in the past. It was something that my mum and my grandma and I all used to sit and do together, actually. I've got a few tapestry pictures that my grandma did that I will show you at some stage. And then when I was working at Liberty, there was a Elizabeth Bradley, big Elizabeth Bradley section in the haberdashery department. I don't know if it was a concession or not, but with my staff discount I used to buy Elizabeth Bradley kits, books, the wool on the cards that she sells. And it just so happens that up on Instagram popped an advert for Elizabeth Bradley, and I clicked on it. I do use the technique where you can avoid the adverts on Instagram, but if I'm not quick enough at pressing that top button and doing followers only, sometimes something pops up, and it's always something pertinent, you know. So anyway, I did click on this link, and she was having a 20% discount, and I looked at the kits, but they are pricey. So I thought to myself, I've got all the books from way back, you know, 20 odd years or more, and it seemed to me that all the kits were ones that I remembered, actually. So I thought I'd get the books out and see how much it would cost to do it from the books, because I've got all the charts and it tells you all the colours that you need. So I worked it out, and actually the kits with the printed canvases are not that much more expensive than buying the canvas and all the Elizabeth Bradley wools yourself. And the wools are expensive. I'm sure the colours are, well, the colours are gorgeous. I have used them in the past because I have been fortunate enough to be able to buy them in the past, but not this time. So in the books, she gives you both the Appletons and the DMC equivalents, or certainly in my books, which are very old, she does. And so I have kitted something up, and I've kitted something up from this book. So I need a big bag because it's a big book. I have worked from the books before, and I know I have because they're covered in coffee stains and stuff where I've had them open next to me. I am going to do, sorry, I should have put a bookmark in and then I could have found it really quickly. Yeah, here he is. I'm going to make this. And he is a carpet python draft excluder. There's his head, there's his tail. And the chart is on the following page. I'm obviously not going to show you the chart. And I've looked at it. I was thinking about photocopying it and blowing it up, but I think I can work from the book actually, because he's very graphic looking. You know, I think he's going to be easy to stitch and count. And this is something that, well, one, I think it's lovely. And in our main living room, we have walnut panelling. Actually, yeah, you can see it behind me. On that wall back there, that's walnut panelling that goes back to the 70s, I think. And it's this colour. So he is going to look fab as a draft excluder underneath by my door in the main living room, and also a very much needed thing because the gap underneath the door is massive and the draft is extensive. So I bought myself a piece of the interlock canvas. I don't know the terms. It's got an orange stripe. I wonder if that means it's Zweigart. I've no idea. You can comment if you know. So I bought a piece of that. That came in, that because that's going to be plenty long enough for my, it's very unwieldy, plenty long enough for my my python. I think that was £8 or £9. And then I bought, and I put them in here because this is where I was, this Isabel bag is where I was housing their pullover, which I've finished, so it's empty. And in here I've put all the wools. So I went for the DMC because, as I said, the books are very old. They didn't, the website that I was using to buy them didn't have all the Appletons, and so I've gone for the DMC. But the colours are, I think the colours are great. Obviously I'm not holding them next to the Elizabeth Bradley ones. They may not be quite as wonderful. Let me just get you a representation. But this is the colour palette with this lovely thick, good thickness to it. I think Appletons might be slightly thinner than that, but yeah. So those are the colours. Interestingly, Elizabeth Bradley, and probably one of the reasons why the kits are more expensive, they use a lot more wool because they are cross stitch, so they don't distort. When you do just tapestry with tent stitch, it can have well, it does. It goes on the skew if, because I suppose if you did it on a frame, that would help counteract that a bit, but I don't use frames. I will just hold it in my hand. So because they're cross stitch, they're thicker, puffier, and they don't distort quite the same. So yeah, this is a usable object that I could do with, so I think that's going to be a start. Certainly I think it'll be underway next one that I do, but it needed a big project bag. So there you go. Gertrude is great for tapestry or needlepoint. So that's that bag. There's another one down here as well. So this was one of those Japanese fabrics that I bought, which got me thinking about this episode. And I hadn't really bought it for Gertrude bags. I bought it for Dorothy bags. When I started cutting them all out, because I amassed quite a collection of fabrics, this is a very slightly heavier weight than quilting cotton. It's not canvas weight. It's not as heavy a weight as the other two that I've just shown you. It's lighter. But I suddenly thought, well, I think I might need a Gertrude bag. And it's all about what I want. So I've decided, I've shared a little video on Instagram to show that they are a bit floppy, and they are a bit floppy, but I've got quite a lot of stuff in here, so it's holding it upright. So before I show you what's inside, this is a complete tangent and not Japanese related at all, but I had a lovely week this week and went to a friend's house. She only lives just up the road from me, for lunch, and she is a really great friend of many years standing. We met when I was first working in Liberty. We're about the same age. We're both working there because we love Liberty, love the products, both sewers, but both thinking that it was a temporary step and that we would be doing other things. Now for me it turned out not to be. It ended up being my career and I stayed more than 10 years. But for my friend, she moved on into the world of television, specifically children's television, and I don't want to, it's her life story. I don't want to, and the channels that you get, not through subscription and all that, but for children. That's been her career and she's been very successful at what she does. But she doesn't work anymore, and for quite a long time she'd been writing a book for children. And so during our lunch we were having a real good chat about it, because I'm fascinated and have been listening to her talk about her ideas for this book, and she's self-publishing it, and all that she's been through, from, well, more than you can possibly imagine that needs doing to get it off the ground and get it printed. And it was very exciting for her, because I think the day before our lunch, and it's got a special name, it wasn't the proof, but it was the thing that comes, it's got a special name, I don't know what it is, before they actually bind it, because it's all going to be stitched and it's going to have a cloth binding and it's going to be embossed with gold and it's going to be a limited edition, and it's so exciting for her. And I said to her, I'll talk about it on my Flosstube, because I would when she's got it, I'll get my hands on a copy and I can show it to you. She's got a website, she's going to sell them herself, and I think she wants to expand it. Well, I know she wants to expand it into a whole thing. Anyway, on my bag, you know, I always put badges and things. I have she's doing some Christmas fairs with her books, and she's had some merchandise made, and she's had some mugs and various other bits and pieces that she was showing me, but she's had badges made for the children. This is one of the characters in the book, and his name is Gomer, and so the book is called Camp Dodo, and he is the camp security, and he's a golden mole, and he loves vinyl records, and he loves CB radio, and he wears these ear defender headphone type things because he's got such super sensitive hearing. Now, I work with children, and I know that has done this because some children are super sensitive to sound. And in the school where I work, which is quite a small school, we have had 2 or 3 children over the years that I've been there who have needed to wear these ear defenders in certain situations, like in the lunch hall when the sound, we shouldn't be loud, but lunch is difficult to police and keep quiet. I can tell you that. I'm not fond of lunch hall duty because it's difficult to keep the little lovelies quiet and focused on their food. And so I'm not saying it's normalising it, but it's making it okay. It's okay to wear ear defenders if you are sensitive to sound and you need that protection. And I know, because her history is in children's television, that she is very mindful and thoughtful of making things like this okay. She's also very keen that her characters don't have devices. He is really into his vinyl records and his CB radio. These are great things for us to talk to our children about. The camp is in Wales. There are some Welsh words in there. I would say, I don't know what age range, any age range I suppose. The idea is of you reading to your child as well, and not just putting on a tape. I used to love reading books to my children when it was bedtime, and so there are lots of words in there that you would be able to discuss with your children. It's not about making it simple for them, but challenging them and having things to talk about. Anyway, hopefully I'll get my hands on a copy and I can show it to you, because I'm so excited for her, and it's been something she's wanted to do for a long time. It's this first book, I think it's called Camp Dodo Rhymes. It's all in rhyming words. I was telling her that there are some books that I read to my children when they were young, and all those words are still in my head, particularly if they rhyme, because we read them so many times and they just sort of stick in your head. And this book will introduce all these fabulous characters that she's got that will then go on in subsequent books and do things and have adventures. But yeah, even down to the font that she's used for the printing of the book. There's a really lovely special story behind the font. I didn't notice the font in any way, but when she told me about how this font had come into existence and how it had been saved, and how she got her hands on it, such a great story. Anyway, that's my badge on my bag, and I said to her, I'll have one of those because blue and yellow look great together. Big sidetrack. What is in this bag? So this is my Japanese bag, and these are the Japanese inspired bags that I am keeping, and there's a whole load of them. I'll show you them when I do the bag update, but I have, is it going to show? Yeah, gorgeous. 1, hairs, we decided they were hairs. 2, more hairs. 3, love these really dark blue fabrics. I'm keeping those. So they're in there. There's nothing in them at the moment, but I need to transfer what's in this bag into one of those bags, because this has been a bag that I've had kitted up for Well, since COVID actually, so probably 3 years, because I've been ill, haven't I? So I bet this has been here for about 3 years. I went to a sewing festival, it's called Threads. So yes, stitching, not really cross stitch, but dressmaking, fabrics, stuff. And I found a lady there who was just lovely, and she was selling old fabrics. This is going to crinkle a bit. I'll take it all out. So she was selling, actually I bought some really lovely bits of wood from her as well, spools, wooden spools, and darning mushrooms, and they were on a display bowl somewhere with some cross stitching. Anyway, she had lots of bits of fabric, and I bought a kit from her. Sorry, is it rustling a lot? It's not really a kit as such, but this was a packet. You can see I'm not never done it. So this was a borrow kit, and on her table she had that piece. There are no instructions in here or anything, but this was a needle holder come, yeah, it just folded in half, and I think it had needles and things poked into it. So borrow is a Japanese textile that dates back hundreds of years, and it is a way of, and it was just patching, sometimes continually patching and stitching bits of scrap fabric over worn out garments. So yeah, a bit like the Cantha quilts have some patches that have been stitched on with running stitch. I guess this is a similar thing, and they would have been, because I've already spoken about indigo dye, they would have been just any fabric scraps they had to hand. Now I don't think there's a great collection of old borrow stitched garments, because they were nothing. It was nothing to be proud of, the fact that you had to continually patch your clothes. I suppose eventually they did completely wear out and were disposed of, but it wasn't an art form as such. It was just what you had to do to make your clothes last. But with the interest in slow stitching and visible mending, for quite a few years now it's been quite a popular thing to do. So this kit would have, I don't know, a background fabric, and then I shall stitch. You can see the running stitch done on there. It came with some thread. Now this lady also sold just scraps of vintage fabric, so I bought quite a few bits from her. I mean, these are so soft and worn that they almost feel like suede or velvet. So these, I think these ones were all French pieces. I mean, they're, if you're doing that type of thing, you only need little scraps, don't you? So so they're not for, I never bought them with the idea in mind of backing cross stitch or anything, because they're very worn. There's that one. They wouldn't be strong enough, I don't think. But for this borrow technique of piecing and then stitching over, there's a bit of an old French linen, I suppose it could be tea towel, and a lovely another piece of printed French. This one here, I don't know. I mean, this, you can see the price on this. I paid £4 for it. Can you see it says £4? I don't know how big it is. It's folded up in there. It's super fine. And then also in here, this is a Nani Inro fabric, which obviously is Japanese. I've got a skirt made out of this, and it's incredibly fine cotton and silk weave. But I thought, you know, some of those, oh, there, you see I made a skirt out of it. I thought some of those scraps with those delicate colours, you can see a bit of pearlescent printing on there as well, might also be nice in this bag. And a super old linen pillowcase that I was using at one stage, but it really is completely worn out. It's got the old linen buttons, you can see they're completely worn through, but I thought that could be a good backing fabric to piece my pieces on. And then also in this bag I popped in a whole load of threads. So I've got some, what have I got here? These are both a Versoir. That's a metallic something or other. It's not thin, it's quite thick. That's Soie Ovale. Look at the sheen on it. And then a whole load of threads. I don't know why did I put these in here? Maybe because there's not much left of them, maybe because I like the colours. I've probably been out and subsequently bought them because I didn't know I had them. It's a classic me putting threads, some silks. Yeah, some gentle art. Well, I know I put that in there because it really is just a scrap that I haven't thrown away. That's the Simply Wool Gentle Arts avocado. So this is it's a fun thing, but I've never done it. So that's Borrow. This is a bag from a few years ago. I've said before I don't really do Halloween. Have I shown this bag before? I don't think so, because it had all that stuff in it. That's about as Halloweeny as I get. I do love this fabric. Right, that's that in the bag. Oh, and also in the bag, my knitting book, because I've had a new start. I lied dreadfully about picking up my Morgana shawl and giving it a go. And I think that's because that's a complicated knit, and I didn't feel like the brain work required to figure out where I was and get going with it again. So I haven't picked it up. I had a new start. This is a denim bag from Rick Rack Room, and she's a lady that I used to buy all my knitting bags from, and started buying knitting bags that I turned into stitching bags from years ago. She's no longer on Etsy. I don't think she makes anymore. And there's an Elizabeth Harbour brooch on there. It's got a lovely oh, now this, what's the name of this designer? Can't think what her name is, but anyway, I sent her this fabric to line this bag with. And in here is my new start. I've shared the wool with you before. This is Ulysses. Yeah, Ulysses from Directrum Natura. And I bought this in Loop's 20th anniversary. It wasn't a sale, it was a special day when they gave 20% off everything, and I shared my haul from that with you. I should have brought the skirt down. What prompted me to cast this on was I was sorting out my wardrobe upstairs, and I came across a skirt that I bought in the sale in the summer, and it's cream. Actually, it has quite a Japanese look to it because it's sort of an ikat weave of indigo threads and cream. And this, although this is called Delphinium, it is just the same as one of the blues in that skirt. So that's what made me think that's what I'm going to cast on. So I am making my second Petite Knits Anchors cardigan. How well you can see that. Oh, it's better. And that's the yoke. First one I made in Issachar Highland wool, which is very thin. So a completely different gauge, different garment, really. Oh look, there's sun coming out. My goodness, it's a very dark, dreary day today. I did a tension square for this because this is lovely plump. This is woolen spun, this wool, which means it's very, very plump and airy. Anyway, enough nattering. This is where I am. Not quite such an intense blue as it's showing there. That is the lighting, but it is a bright blue. Delphinium is what it's called. So that's where I am. Obviously I cast on at the neck. I'm going backwards and forwards. It's not knitting the round because it's a cardigan. The buttonhole bands are already on here, and I'm doing the buttonholes as I go. Every so many rows, I've got a counter going. Every so many rows, you put in a button row on the button band. And this is I'm just working on the final section of this, and then I'll be doing a little bit of raglan shaping and then dividing the body and the sleeves. It's slow going, they're little needles, and it's a rib, which means you're constantly yarn forward, yarn back, yarn forward, yarn back, which is almost the equivalent of doing another stitch. So it slows you down quite a lot, but it is lovely. It's a lovely effect, as I've shown you on the pattern. So that's blue and in my blue bag. That's my new bag, and it's empty, and it's floppy. Now it's empty, you can see that. And that's what's in the bags, and there have been a lot of bags. And so I guess that leads us on to new bags. That's a new bag. So this Gertrude and the Periwinkle Blue Alice Gertrude will both be available on the website now. And oh, there's a whole load of stuff here that I meant to talk about that I haven't spoken about. I did show you how I keep my bent needles. Let's move that out of the way. I'll show you that in a minute. So basically it's a lot of Dorothy bags. The Dorothy bags, I have got a couple in, I think I've got a couple in stock at the moment, have I? Possibly. But I feel like I can't make enough of them to satisfy demand. You can fit so much more in them. And from my own purely lazy point of view, there's so much work in a Caroline bag. I charge the same price for them. But I do the crosshatch quilting on them, and I bind them all by hand. So that's a lot of, there's a lot more work in these. So if you're preferring to buy the Dorothy ones, that's fine by me. But I will make some more Carolines because I like them actually. Sometimes the Dorothy ones can almost be too fat, too much in them. Anyway, it's enough. So this is the Borrow one. It's a printed cotton, so there's no texture to this at all. It's just printed. And I've already spoken about Borrow as a Japanese stitching technique, and it has this denim-y coloured printed lining. This is the same lining that's in the Gertrude bag. That's a cotton tassel, and I've made thread keeps for all of them. It's quite a nice thread keep. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. So that's the thread keep for that one. Just a piece of the fabric. Works really well. It's a nice one. That's that one. This is the only one that's not indigo coloured, and I have a feeling this is going to be really popular. I've made quite a few of these, more of these than any of the others. Look at that gold. Yes, look at it catching the light there. This one is called Sakura. Now, Sakura is the Japanese word for cherry blossom, and cherry blossom is the national flower of Japan. And there is a day, and it's got a name. Is it called Hajime? I better check my notes. Hanami. Hanami means something. It doesn't mean flower viewing. It does. It means flower viewing. So Hanami is a day of celebration of the cherry blossom, when families will go to parks and take picnics and sit underneath the blossom and celebrate that fleeting beauty, because it is a fleeting beauty, isn't it? It usually rains and they all get squished in puddles and go all floppy, but there's nothing more beautiful than cherry blossom, really. We had a blossom tree in our garden when I was a child. I used to love picking the ones that fell from the lawn in the front of the house. I think it might have been some of the first things that I had to go at putting in my flower press as well. So beautiful, so fleeting, so easily ravaged by the wind and the rain. So that one's called Sakura, which does mean cherry blossom. Next up are my hair bags, and I have kept one of each of these. So this is a Japanese fabric. I think it just said Japan on the salvage that I cut off. And I think I might have said bunnies, but they're not. They're hares. Pretty certain they're hares. So this is the Japanese hares one. It has this lovely... This is an English fabric from a Japanese inspired collection. This is a Japanese fabric, so these are not the same fabric company that I've put together there. So there's that one. And then there's Hares 2, which has a little red floral detail. I couldn't decide which one of these I like the most, so I just thought I'd have one of each. And that's, again, this is from the same fabric collection as the other lining. So it's a Japanese collection, but English fabric manufacturer. This is a Japanese fabric. This is called Hajime. It is called Hajime. And this is an English fabric company, and it's part of that Japanese inspired fabric collection that I use for the lining for the other two. Hajime means beginning, so perfect for a new start. And I guess that's where the circular, in fact I think it said that the circular motif had been lifted from traditional men's kimono designs. This has just a pearlescent blender fabric lining, same as the one that I put in the angel. Actually, that's one I have some left of it, the angel Dorothy bag that I did last time. That's that one. And then this is a Liberty print, and this is got nothing to do with Japan at all, apart from the fact that I thought, well, it just had that vibe for me. Finding the right zip for it was really hard, because it's showing there really blue. It's more greeny blue than it's showing there. Difficult colour to get right, that's why I put that. It's got a green, yeah, those dots are They're not showing that green there, but they're a greeny tinge. Put a greeny hanger on the tassel. And the lining, not lining. Oh yeah, this is also one of those blender fabrics in a soft bluey grey. Yeah, it's definitely more of a grey blue than is showing there. But I really like this one, and that's a typical, sort of one of those typical ditzy Liberty prints, but it just has that Japanese feel to me. So I made those. Oh, I didn't show the thread keeps at the same time. Very quickly. That's the Hajime bag. And the Liberty bag. Or the Sakura bag, a piece of blossom. That's a beauty. And then the two Japanese hairs. I've mentioned before, it's quite dark fabrics do not work as well for thread keeps. They haven't come out too badly. So those are the two hairs. Right. So that's the bag update. They'll all be there now. What's next? What have I been buying? Well, I haven't been buying very much, but I did buy something that was very expensive. And what I've bought is a place, ticket, whatever it is, for the Stacey Nash workshop at Cowslip. It's called Cowslip Workshops, isn't it? For the 5th and 6th of July 2026. I think it'll be Stacey's third one at Cowslips. The first one, it wasn't on my radar until it had happened and everybody was posting about it, and I thought, oh, I would have really loved to have done that. The second one, which would have been this, was it this? It would have been this year, wasn't it? Was it earlier in the year? Well, there were no, I've been ill. I couldn't commit to doing something like that. I don't think there were any tickets, so it just didn't happen. But I watched everybody and heard about it from everybody and thought, yeah, I would really like to do that. And then a friend told me that the tickets were available, so I went straight on the website and bought tickets for that, for the Stacey Nash workshop for the 5th and 6th of July. I think maybe now they're all sold out, but there are two workshops. That Stacey Nash is doing two, and another lady that does, is she Blackberry Primitives, and I can't think what her name is it Tonya somebody? She's also doing a wool applique workshop. So one's doing one workshop and one's doing the other for 2 days, and then there's another 2 days and they're switching on. Anyway, I'm only doing one of them. I'm doing the Stacey Nash one. I'm not really into wool applique, and that was enough money for me to spend. We will book somewhere to stay. Steve will come with me and we'll have a little break down in Cornwall the beginning of July next year. So really excited to be doing that. I love Stacey Nash. So that was a big purchase. And I think I've said before, having never done a retreat before, and it being something that I would like to do, I'm going to buy a ticket for the Jingle Ball, and I'm going to buy one of Stacey Nash's classes there. I think there's one to make a really sweet little animal cracker. Well, I've made lots of animal crackers. I don't really need a tutorial on how to make them. I'm okay at doing that. And she's also got a pattern for a little gingerbread man needle case that goes with the gingerbread house thing that she did last year. Now, if you buy a ticket for the Jingle Ball, you're able to buy that gingerbread house pattern that hasn't been released other than through the Jingle Ball. So I'm going to get the gingerbread house, probably get the animal cracker pattern and the gingerbread man pattern and the class for doing the gingerbread man finishing. They seem, there's no rush to book a class because it's obviously all digital through the internet, and you pay for the class, so the places are unlimited and we can buy them. You can buy them anywhere in the world. You can join in, and you can access the class either as it is as it goes out, or I think you have it for a month afterwards. So if the timings don't work in your time zone, you can watch it at a time more appropriate for you, or if you're away or whatever. So I'm going to do that. And I also have coming up a week today, I will be at the Stitchery Sisters in Northamptonshire at the Stitch Chili workshop, which is also a Stacey Nash thing. So I'm all Stacey Nash at the moment. So if you, I know two people, one lady who watches me, who found me through Emma, which is Emma Your Rose Cottage Stitches, I think, on Instagram and on Flosstube. Well, Emma's going. There's another lady that watches Emma that watched me because she watched Emma, who's also going. So there'll be two people there that I know of that are going. So that's nice for me. If you're going to the Stitch Chili at the Stitchery Sisters next weekend, I think it's the 25th of October, do let me know, leave a comment. It'd be lovely to meet you there. Or likewise, if you're going to go to the Stacey Nash retreat at Cowslips next year and you happen to be doing the 5th and 6th of July, let me know, and it would be lovely to meet you there as well. Or I guess on the 5th and 6th of July there's also the wool applique workshop, so you could be there for that, and it would be nice to meet you as well. So that's the biggest thing that I've been buying. I bought my carpet python bits and pieces, and I didn't finish telling you, did I? Because I bought the canvas and the wool, which is DMC, and the DMC wool had a little sale going on it as well. That whole thing will come in at, I think it was under £40, was it £30 something? Which compared to the kit's really expensive. And you know, for a draft excluder, that's good. So that wasn't too bad buying that. And the other thing that I've bought, which is stitching related, because I was influenced by Sian Perrington, the Periwinkle Stitcher. I don't know which episode she showed this on, but she has a friend, I believe this is the story, an old school friend who makes things out of porcelain and sells them on Etsy, and she showed some things that she had. So I had a look, like you do, and I bought from this lady, Julie Mansfield, her name is. She's based in South Wales. I'll just show you a card. Can you see that? I bought them via Etsy. I left that there long enough, hopefully. Yes, Etsy. And this is what I bought. So I bought this leaf. Look at those gorgeous colours. So yes, it is porcelain rather than clay. Well, porcelain is a type of clay, isn't it? But you know what I mean. It's because it's white in colour and it's thin. And I would imagine that was actually a leaf that she pressed into it, cut it out and shaped it. So I bought that, and then I bought these. These were just, she still has these. For me, it's totally irresistible. Look at their little pumpkins, they're so tiny. And there's 3 of them. And they would be lovely as part of one of my displays. I haven't put them out yet because I was going to show them to you. So again, they're made from the porcelain, they're shaped, they're painted. A little, so sweet. I mean, that one is so tiny, so tiny. But they're going to be lovely as part of one of my displays. And then she's very, very sweet, and she sent me, you shouldn't know who I am, I've never bought from her before, but also in the parcel to say thank you was a little hanging pumpkin as well. So very, very kind, generous of her to include an extra thing. I thought that they were really reasonably priced, and they included postage as well. And that's partly why I bought more than one thing, because if you just, from her point of view, if you just buy one thing, and I think the postage marked on the outside of the parcel was £4, and her things are very, very reasonably priced. That's quite a big amount. That was quite a big proportion of the price of the object. So not a lot of profit in it for her, I would have thought. So I bought a couple of things, and obviously all came in one parcel. She included something else. So that's what I've been buying. Yeah, that is what I've been buying. So, but the Stacey Nash workshop did cost quite a lot of money. I can see some things here that I didn't show. So when I was talking about the bags, I should have shown this, because I would like to say I've made more of these, but I haven't. I'm in the process of making them, but hopefully by the time this goes out, they'll be well under, some of them will be finished and some of them will be well under construction. So this is Mabel. I think this is Mabel. They said these haven't been showing on the website for a long time because I haven't had them in stock. I sell these that you can add on to a bag purchase, because otherwise if you were just going to, just seem like too much work to be sending them out individually, but you can add them onto a bag purchase. It's a, I don't know, like a stitching companion, not really like a, I mean, I've got aughts in there, a thread, people call them thread catchers. That's like a batting, a soft batting, which is obviously, they stick on so you can see they're not falling off. There's a little magnet under my logo there. So I've got that must have been in there for ages. There's a needle on there. But that will also hold a pair of the scissors that I sell. Those little black merchant mill scissors will also stick on there. It's quite a powerful magnet. And I make them out of Zweigart, the printed fabrics. So Mabel I haven't made, that's vintage country mocha. No, she's Elsie. This one is Mabel, and that is what it will say on the website. I can't remember what it is. It's like a grey, a vintage grey. It might be vintage grey. Belfast. Is it 30? No, it might not be Belfast. It's 32 count, I think. And you can stitch on it. So if you buy one of these, they're plain. Well, they come like that all over. You can see the mottling from the printing. And you can doodle on it. I know I've shown these before, but if you haven't seen. So I have a book that I use for this one. I've had this book for many, many years. I bought it in a book fair before I was into cross stitch, so I've had it for a long, long time. I think it's quite a well-known book. It's got loads of motifs in it, and I use this book and pick things out of it to add to this. Now I stitch in hand, so I like sew my stitches from the front, and I don't have any problem stitching that without going through all the layers. I just use my needle, pick up the two threads and form my crosses. I use a pin start so that secures my thread, and when I finish off the thread, by feel I thread it back through the stitches that I've already stitched, and I find it quite doable. Whether it actually would be for you or not, I couldn't comment. But look, there's some lovely, I liked the way that I got some of them a bit close. I mean, I didn't intend to do it, but it didn't bother me that some of my counting perhaps wasn't quite right. Filled the spaces. And then since you last saw this, in fact this last week, I put a stag on the back. So I've started the back. I will cover the back as well. I found in the book, I was flicking through it when I found this stag, I found a really nice apple, which I might put on, which would be like the pear, and a ship, a small ship. I think a ship will go on there, and then some other little tiny things to fill in all the spaces. But I enjoy working on this, and if you have bought one of these, I'd love to see what you've done on yours. I know that Stitchy Rach, who hasn't done a floss tube for ages, used to love your floss tubes, Rachel, if you happen to watch mine now. She was doing on hers a little motif from her finishes. So when she finished something, she picked something tiny from her finish and add it to her Mabel. But I'm just picking them out of a book and putting one on here and there when I feel like it. But I am using threads from projects that I'm de-kitting. So these are all different threads from, I think there might be some sulky, there's hand-dyed, over-dyed ones, there's silks. That's a silk from something that I'm going to show you in a second that I did recently as I was putting it away. I meant to show you that. I think they come with this ribbon that you can see I tied round for a bit of fun. I'm going to make the ribbon a bit shorter on this next batch because when I was tying this yesterday I thought, yeah, it's a little bit too long, so I might make it a bit shorter. So I meant to show that with the new bags because she is going to be available. Not that I do these by hand, they're slip stitched round by hand. There'll be a few of these Mabel ones, and I've also made some Joan ones. Joan is on Vintage Country Cream, I think, cream, so I got linen, and she has a lilac coloured flower border. So they will both be available in this next update. I meant to talk about that. So I'm jumping around a bit, aren't I? Sorry about that. What else? Oh, I didn't show you my needles. So I have some Japanese needles by a company called Tulip. You may have tried them. They come in these lovely containers with a cork top. This one here, these are Tapestry needles for cross stitch, number 25 round tip. I think actually, are they all yeah, they are all the same size. I have used one of them. I've got one of them out in a project. They have a gold plated eye on them. They're quite expensive. Love the way they're presented. I can't say when I was stitching with it, it blew my mind. But I wanted to try them. And I thought I'd show them today because they are Japanese. I have this container. In here, at the moment, are some eyes for Luna Lapan, who I have been making for about 6 years or something crazy. She's upstairs, she's not finished, and she doesn't have any eyes, and I can't get the eyes out of there now, so it was a very foolish place to put them. I'm going to have to use something to poke them with. But the pins that came in there, again, were expensive, but they're the ones that I put in here. They're little glass, they're clear glass with a coloured glass middle bit. You can see I've used them. I mean, so expensive that I sort of thought they were too nice to use actually as pins, so I've used them for my pinwheel here, and I've got some others in the tops of pin cushions that I don't actually pull them out and use them. This is, if you haven't seen this, this is my crowned swan drum that I started for breast cancer awareness last year when I was in hospital. I've spoken about that many times on other episodes. I'm just showing it now because those are the Japanese tulip pins. And the other thing that I have that is Japanese and stitchy related is this Kohana magnet needle minder. So this sits on the table next to where I sit in the evening. It's made of, well, it looks like terracotta, stoneware or something. And it's got this lovely glaze on it. And it's quite a powerful magnet. I do put my cross-stitch needles on there, but those are my tapestry needles, and I use the biggest one for when I'm knitting. Okay, so I meant to show those before. Japanese related. Una's on the move. She's hungry. I'm hungry. How long is it? It's not too bad for me. Finishes. I have 3 finishes, and one of them I'm looking at, I've realised I haven't brought down with me. So I finished my, I'm not going to go and get it. I finished my capo. Oh, it's not a jumper. It's not a cape. I showed it. Did I show it last episode? Because I showed at the very end how to knit a swatch so that it gave you the gauge for knitting in the round without actually knitting in the round. If you watched it, you'll know that that makes sense. And I did get gauge on that garment with that method, and it matched the garment as well. So, and it's really nice. I'm very pleased with how it came out. I had too much yarn. I had at least a ball and a half left over. I'll wear it maybe next episode so you can see it then, because I've forgotten to bring it down as part of my finish pile, although I've actually only got 3 finishes, so it was a third of my finishes and I've left it upstairs. But I'll wear it. It's much easier to wear things that you've knitted. They're much easier to show. So that's been a finish since I last saw you, and it was a super quick knit as well. I think it took me less than a week in all to knit. When I counted my book of days, how many days I'd worked on it, it was a super quick, easy knit. Really enjoyed it, and it looks great. But I'll wear it sometime so you can see it. So I also finished the second part of the Modern Folk Embroidery Quintessential Frisian Smalls stitch along, the one where I keep saying I'm not on Facebook, so I don't get to see the tutorials properly, but I coped all right with this. So it's a scissor fob and it's tiny, and here it is. Let's get my board. Oops. Take some of these. I take that one off because I talked about that. So here it is. So let's get the right side first. So that's the right side, or the front, and the back is dated 1681, and I did my initials over 1 because on the example he gave, you did your initials full size, but I didn't want it to look like it was me doing it in 1681, so I've done those small, and I did a little tiny motif that I repeated underneath, which had come from the front bit. Now what you were learning with this one was making cord, and I've made cord before, so I do know how to make cord, but the construction of it was the same. Do the back stitch, sew it wrong sides together and pull it up, which we had done on the previous finish, which I showed last time. So that's the second time I've used that technique now, and actually the way he put the cord on and the way he made the loop at the top was something I haven't done before, so I did learn new things making this. I had intended this is on a piece of a tiny scrap of 40 count. I'd intended it for a pair of my black Merchant and Mill scissors to go in my, I'm pointing behind me over there because that's where I keep it, in my collar box. But I've said before, everything needs to be on a miniature scale for the collar box. So the black Merchant and Mill scissors are perfect because they're tiny, they're much smaller than these ones. But this was too big. It wasn't in scale with them. So I thought, well, I'll just put it on the gold ones. I keep them on the table next to where I stitch my scissors like this. These are yarns that I've used in the past that I've particularly liked. So I just wind them around there. So that's a finish. And my other finish is I am just going to stand up and get something from over there so that I can show you what I've been up to. Won't be a second. No, I'm not getting up for you, no. I've got a corner cabinet over there which has got some small cross-stitching finishes as well as some decorative bits and pieces in it, so I knew where this was. So I made a strawberry. I put it on the right side of the board. Can you see? Let's use the brown bit. So he's a fox hugging a pumpkin. His tail, bottom. And that's the top that I put on. So what I got up to get was my, I've shown these before, this is my Mary Jo Heine velvet strawberry. I made 5 of these. One of them I've gifted to a very dear friend who commented how much she loved them because she saw them on my Instagram account. And I gifted it to her as a housewarming present. It was quite hard to give away actually because they're so gorgeous. I really love them. But I did make all 5 of them. And I used the template from this to make him. Now he's come out bigger because I literally put the template on my piece of fabric, extended the straight edges where you form your seam a little bit, and then I extended the curve at the top so that he would fit on a bit better. So he has come out a little bit bigger. I did a bit of herringbone stitch along the seam. I cut out, I made this template myself. It was just, that's not difficult. Used a bit of freezer paper. Is it called freezer paper? The one which is slightly waxed on one side, to which I ironed onto a piece of this Blackberry Primitives wool that I bought. I did buy this from Cowslip. It was a little pack of green wools dyed by Blackberry Primitives at Cowslip Workshop. So I cut that out, stitched down the leafy bits. That red button, which is domed shaped, was from my grandma's button box. A little tiny mother of pearl button from an old pair of pyjamas that one of my daughters had, and some a little acorn charm to finish it off. Now the pattern. The pattern is from that company or that designer. It's a freebie, and that's the website where you can find it. So it's Thistle Heart Creations. And I found out about this pattern by watching Sally at Flossie Sews and Grows. I think she showed it as a freebie. And I thought, that's sweet. And I went onto the website. I don't know what made me think of turning it into a strawberry. These things just come into your head, don't they? And I thought, oh, he'd be good on a strawberry. When I showed you my strawberry stitching bag, the piece of fabric in there is the other half of this. And there's another pattern, another freebie pattern on that website of exactly the same idea, only it's a mouse hugging a strawberry. And so I will stitch that one as well. My colours, again, I don't know how my thought process worked. It probably was because I had it out. I showed you this last time as one of my autumnal finishes. It's a drawn thread piece that I had as a kit. And in fact, this is the kit. I don't want to break my ceramics. That is the kit. And it didn't come from the Nimble Thimble. I think I bought it on eBay. Maybe it was a D-stash thing. But I know that the lady, it's Chris, isn't it, at the Nimble Thimble, sells these drawn thread kits. And she kits them up, or whoever does it, kits them up with the called for NPI silks. And as with most kits, you get much more than you need. So these were the leftover threads from my drawn thread piece, and those are pretty much all used in here. So I didn't follow the threads given in the pattern at all. I just looked at the pattern and just pulled these colours, and I think that little motif here was here somewhere, but I moved it down there because by the time I got to there I knew I was going to turn him into a strawberry, so I felt like he needed to be that sort of shape. So that's a finish. Well, that's my third and final finish, the first one of which you haven't even seen, and I think he is just going to look so lovely in this dish. That was my thought process behind buying this, was to stick something like this in it, and I guess all my thoughts just came together to create that. And so I'm really pleased with that. That will probably go out on a side table somewhere. Really pleased with him, and I'll do the mouse one as well. So those are my finishes. Where's my book? Down here. What am I wearing? You're going to think that you'd escaped hearing about what I was wearing, but I've just mashed things up a bit and I'm doing it at the end. Now I am wearing this jumper. I wonder if I should stand up so that you can see it a bit better. Let's see if I don't want to disturb Una too much, but I'll just stand behind the chair and you might be able to see it a bit better. No, it's not for you to move, Una. Got a whole pile of rubbish down there now. So this is another big sleeve job. Okay, I made this in 2019 or 2020. Oh, no, it must have been 2019. I got my notebook out, which is an old notebook because it was quite a while ago, and I made loads of notes about knitting it, but I didn't make any note about what the yarn was. I think, well, from the beginning, Sarah, I'm wearing it because it's a Japanese designer. This jumper is called Ember, and it is by Yuko Shimizu on Ravelry. It's 4-ply. I made it in Hillesvarg yarn. It's called Soldier, Soul, I can't speak any of these languages. That's the red, a very sheepy, woolly 4-ply. A lot of people might not be able to wear it. It's quite rough. This is a hand-dyed sock yarn that I had by a company called Posh Yarns. They're not in existence anymore. And the yellow was again a hand-dyed wool. I mean, you can see, I think you can see here the lovely variegation in it. Really love this jumper. And the yellow was a hand-dyed wool from a lady called Sarah who has a company called Gathered Sheep Yarns. And she doesn't dye yarn anymore. She's really gotten into weaving, and she weaves and sells her woven things. I don't think she dyes anymore, but I have bought quite a lot of yarn from her over the years, and that was one of hers. So yeah, so I'm wearing this today because this is by a Japanese designer, and the Japanese are great knitters and very distinctive style and design to their knitting, to their designs, and I really like them. So I've got a little pile here. So this is Ember by Yuko Shimizu, and you've seen this before. This is the word that I can't say, Heidemer vest, which I have made 2 of. This one I've shown on my podcast, my Flosstube, before, and this is also one of her designs. This is the one that had the smocking on the back that I used Grandma's buttons on, that got me sorting through the tin, and it has a little pocket on the front. It's knitted in an Aran weight. I'm not going to say any more than that. I've knitted it twice. I've knitted it in a pink as well, and that's also one of her designs. Then I'm going to show you 2 by a designer called Junko Okamoto, and I have 3 or 4 of her designs in my queue on Ravelry. I've even got yarn for one of them. Her designs are also amazing. Junko Okamoto, her name is. This one is actually a free pattern that she has on Ravelry. Don't think it's one that I've worn here. It's called Rug Sweater. I have made 2 of these. The first one I made, I haven't brought all of them down. The first one I made is in black and cream, and I used Drops Air, the blown yarn, for that one. I did, didn't I? Yes. And I held it with another Drops yarn, and I can't remember what the other yarn was. And this is exactly the same. So this is Drops Air held with a 4-ply alpaca. So it's 2 yarns held together. So it's a very, very, very warm, very chunky sweater. Free pattern, fits me like a dream, and I've made it twice. I love it so much. And that is a Japanese designer and a free pattern. Another of her patterns, this is also by Junko. This is called The Little Garden, and I made this in Isuga Highland wool, which is a very, very fine ply, and it should have been made in a sport weight. So mine is slightly different to maybe the one on, maybe the one that you might see, but this is a sleeveless, not exactly a jacket, open top with some fringing. I made this years ago, and some really lovely stitch patterns. This is a very Japanese thing, actually. These really lovely stitch patterns and cables is very Japanese. I think this one here is like a mock cable twisted stitch, but very, very fine needles. Took me quite a while to make. That's the front. I can't remember how it's supposed to shut, but I have this 18th century inherited lace pin on it. Actually, this is old stuff, isn't it? I love this. I guess I'm always worried that I might lose it because it's on the cardigan, but it's actually engraved on the back, and it's dated. I can't remember whose name it's got on there. I think it might be dated 1811 or something like that. So a very, very old lace pin. So that's that. I feel like I'm getting quite hot. This is this jumper. Of course, there's the ranunculus, and I didn't bring one down, but as you know, I've got 9 of those, 9 ranunculuses, which is just a fantastic jumper. I think I've persuaded a few of you to give it a go. It's a great pattern. I love it. I've made 9 of them. That is by Midori Hirose, who is obviously Japanese. She is Japanese, but I think she lives in Germany, Midori Hirose. And I've got other patterns of hers, again, in my queue on Ravelry. And one last one that I've made, and hardly ever wear because I don't really wear cowls. But this is a cowl, and it's called Rabbit in Moonlit Night Cowl, and it's by Mimizuku Knits on Ravelry. Again, I made this years ago. It's made out of a really super soft double knitting alpaca yarn. The designer's name is Teresa Shizu Tanaka, and I adjusted this pattern because of my gauge. My gauge was not right, and so I can't remember what I did, but I think I might have cut out a few lines because it was just going to be too long. I don't wear cowls really. I've worn it a few times. I have to say, when I do wear it, I do get comments. It's a very beautiful thing, and I enjoyed knitting it. It was a holiday knit one year, so I have memories of being in Wales. I was in Wales when I knitted this. When I knitted that, so that's another Japanese knit. And it is, I mean, it is quite nice, and it is super soft. I've just got too many knitted things. That's what it is. Right. We're getting very close to the end and very close to 2 hours. I feel looking a bit red. It's warm in the jumpers and getting a little bit brighter out there. I do apologise for the light. I know I apologise for the light every time. It's a dark room. I've got the overhead lighting on. I lean forward and it changes the colour, doesn't it, on the screen. So I am sorry about that. I don't have any professional lighting or anything. Hopefully, well, you all seem to, you leave such lovely comments that you enjoy watching me. So I'm assuming that it's all okay. Giveaway. I thought about doing another giveaway today, but I'm not having much success with giveaways. I still haven't had. This is the 3rd time now I've drawn this. This is Strength and Dignity, which was a giveaway in episode 7. Actually, to be fair, the first time I drew it, the lady asked me to redraw it. So I have redrawn it, and it hasn't been claimed. Have I done it again and it hasn't been claimed? Anyway, I've done it again. I did it last night. This is the lady that has won this time. It was episode 7. We're 2 hours into episode 12. I don't know if you're still watching me. Still watching me as in still tuning in, or still watching me as having made it this far. But this is the lady that has won. It is Janet O'Brien 8630. Janet, if you have made it this far, can you contact me, Sarah at penelopespocket.co.uk with your address, and I will be very happy to send this out to you and get this off of my desk, and I can then contemplate another giveaway for next time. So that's the giveaway. Oh, I'm just looking at my notes. If you can bear me to keep rabbiting on. I talked a bit about borrow stitching. I can only tell you what I know, which isn't a great amount, and as you can see from my project bag, although I've kitted up a borrow type project, I've never actually done anything. I talked a bit about that. The other stitching that you will know about, I'm sure, but is also Japanese, is sashiko, and that is very similar to borrow in that it was to it's like a type of quilting, I suppose. So it prolongs the life of garments and it makes warmer clothing. So I believe in the north of Japan the winters can be very harsh and cold. So years ago this technique came about of stitching together layers of fabric. I mean, it is very much just like quilting, layers of fabric, stitching on a pattern so that you're creating little pockets of air in the fabric, which, as we all know, it has an insulating quality and will make you warmer garments. So a very practical use behind something that we now do for pleasure and because it's so beautiful. So sashiko is also done on the dark indigo fabrics because, as I already said, that's the dyeing technique they had to hand. That's the colour. And uses a white or pale coloured thread. And I read somewhere that was simply because we all know it's really difficult stitching on dark colours, and so you could see what you were stitching by using the lighter thread, especially because you're probably working maybe in the fields all day and stitching in the evening and the light wasn't good. They use very long needles for sashiko, I think, because it's just a continuous running stitch. I'd have on my, in case you don't know what sashiko is, and because I've never done it, I did pull up a picture on my laptop. Let's see if I can show you. So that's what it looks like. So it's very geometric patterns in running stitch with a thick thread. I've seen kits and things which are on one piece of fabric, but traditionally it would have been layered fabric, presumably at least 2 layers, to get that insulating quality of the gaps between the layers. So that's sashiko. Good job I checked my notes, or I wouldn't have mentioned that, and probably loads of you would have said, "What about sashiko, Sarah?" That's very much a well-known Japanese stitching technique. I think that's it. That is everything. Okay, time to say goodbye. I'm very much looking forward to my Stitch Chilly Day at the Stitchery Sisters next weekend. This time next week I'll be there. Please leave comments if you've got anything to add. If you know of really great Japanese stitching patterns, anything really, any questions. It's lovely to read your comments. I do respond to all of them. I really enjoy reading them. It's that connection I'm loving through this medium. I'm nowhere near as active on Instagram at the moment because I guess this is taken over a bit for me. So yeah, please leave a comment if you want to engage. That would be really nice. And I'm going to say goodbye now before I go on any longer. Just over 2 hours. I expect it'll be at least another 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, as we're going away next weekend before my next update. I know that there are going to be a lot of Christmas bags next time. It won't be a Christmas episode. It'll probably just be a normal catch up for us. So until then, happy stitching to everybody and keep well, and I look forward to seeing you next time and reading your comments. Bye.